This is a battle you can't win.
Agent Mulder tracks a mysterious killer.
He's gone.
To the most desolate place on Earth.
Lock torpedoes on target.
Now he'll come face to face.
Who are you?
With the most terrifying experience of his life.
Hello and welcome to episode 45 of Most Unwanted, an X-Files podcast. My name's Dan, or Checks, joined as ever by Luke. How you doing today, Luke?
Or Lex, some call me.
No one calls you Lex.
No one calls me that.
You don't have a nickname.
But Luke's, that's the problem. If you have a short name like Luke, no one bothers giving you a nickname.
No, because it's easy enough to say.
Easy enough, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Luke.
the thing.
Unless there's like two Lukes, but then we just say
Luke 1, Luke 2.
Luke 2, yeah.
Yeah, it's just easier. Yeah. Did we have a discussion before we started the podcast if I was going to be called by my nickname or not? Or did it just we just go with it?
I think just naturally we fell into calling you Checks.
Yeah, because it feels weird if you call me Dan,
yeah.
To be fair.
I feel like I'm telling you off if I call you Dan, so I don't want to do that on air.
Yeah, so fair enough. How's your week been, mate?
It's alright, it's been quiet. I'm still 100% into my comics. I've jumped right back in there.
Oh, nice.
I'm buying first issues and buying this.
Oh, so you've picked up some new series?
Yeah. So, I've jumped back on board with, was it Daredevil and Guardians of the Galaxy? I thought, they've started from issue 1.
Okay.
But, yeah, I'm enjoying it so
good
far.
jumping on point.
Yeah, so far. I've not, to be honest, I'm trying to catch up on other stuff, on older trades, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is insider speak we're using at the moment, aren't we? Trades, issue 1. But, it did lead me nicely onto, because I've been buying them on eBay, just because it's so much easier. They do bundles and everything. This is not me trying to explain how to buy comics anyway. But anyway, as I was looking on eBay, I noticed there was a set of X-Files from IDW. 2016 they were published, and I was like, oh, that was quite recent. Like, I wonder if that's about the new series or if it's like slotted into the other series.
Yeah. And
then I did some research, and there is shitloads of X-Files comics, games, books, everything, pretty much. There's so much, expanded universe, I guess.
Yeah. It's like a cash cow sometimes, though, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
I think you've got to be careful of the quality.
That's the trouble. It can either go where it's like, oh, this is a weird tangent that they never do on the show, but this is cool because they can do it in a comic or in a book or whatever. Or, yeah, you can end up where it's like somebody's just making them just because it's popular.
Yeah.
I do wonder if it's one or the other. Do you know what? That's a good point. If you are listening, if you've read or played or what else? What other stuff is there? Watched? Nah, that'd be
listened.
Listen, maybe. Maybe there's an audiobook.
Felt.
What other kind of X-Files media is there that you would recommend? Because
are you on an X-Files hype?
I'm looking for it, and also it might be good for a special episode at some point in the future.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I'd be up for that. I mean, to be fair, I think the Simpsons episode went down pretty well.
It did, yeah. I feel like a lot of people enjoyed it.
Well, we've got a few things to talk about.
Oh yeah,
because we've got quite a few milestones right around the corner.
Oh yeah.
So we're coming up to our 50th episode. That's 5 episodes away. Mm-hmm. It should actually be right around the time that we come up to our year anniversary of starting the show.
Yeah, it's not far off, yeah.
And we're so close to 5,000 downloads.
Yeah.
A lot of milestones coming up.
Another one as well. We've nearly finished season 2.
And we've nearly finished season 2. It's all go. I think we need to do something special.
Like a musical episode.
Oh, where we sing.
Sing the entire thing.
That would be amazing.
I feel like we'd get our lowest downloads ever on that one.
No, we'd get our highest downloads ever because people would be curious.
It'd be the next one.
Yeah.
That would have them on. Right,
0.
This jumped the shark.
Well, let us know if you want us to do a musical episode. I'm sure if we get enough response, would you be up for it?
Do you want to shoot yourself or do you want to... Not really a good choice.
So yeah, we've got all those milestones coming up. But for now, for this episode, we're going to be looking at Season 2, Episode 17. It's lucky that we've got this, because I completely forgot to watch the episode up until about 2 hours ago.
I was going to say, did you watch it?
Yes, I just about watched it. Like, literally finished it as you arrived.
That's good, because you were doing the leading notes.
Yeah, I realised that, and I panicked a little bit when I woke up this morning, and I was like, right, recording's all booked, get ready for that. Is there anything I'm missing? Oh yes, I don't know what I'm talking about. So all the notes are done. I reckon we should just jump straight into it. So this episode's titled Endgame. Obviously, it's the second part to the two-parter. We covered the first part last week, which was Colony.
Yep.
That was nice. That was in sync. I like
that. Try to do that more.
Yes. No.
No.
Oh no. And the original air date.
No, didn't work. Sorry.
The original air date was February 17th, 1995. Written by Frank Spotnitz and directed by Rob Bowman. I was surprised that it didn't have the same director and writer as the first part. I thought that they'd just been in a package. Yeah,
usually two-parters, they keep the same crew, or I don't know. But
obviously they want to go a different direction.
Yeah.
So, for the first time, I think, ever, in an X-Files episode, we start off with a previously on X-Files.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even... Oh, yeah. I wrote it down in all caps. Sorry. I'm not even reading my own notes. I just put recap. And I was like, what?
They don't make a big deal out of it. It literally is just a bunch of clips put together of the last episode. And obviously we end with the tense face-off between Mulder on the phone and Mulder at the door.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't start there. We start in the Beaufort Sea, 87 miles north of Dead Horse, Alaska. A submarine, what we find out is the USS Allegiance, is cruising along 1,000 feet below the water, and the radar operator informs the captain of a UFO that's been picked up, which is basically, he says it's emitting strange sound waves above the water, but it doesn't look like it shows any pattern.
I thought, is this the craft that crashed at the beginning of the first episode?
I think it is, yeah. I think it's like a little bit of a flashback, isn't it?
This opening scene, by the way, it's ridiculous how much it looks like the opening to, I've mentioned it before, Metal Gear Solid pulls so many things from like old TV shows.
Yeah.
The opening scene is like a direct copy.
Is it really?
I mean, not because they did it first.
Yeah.
But Metal Gear Solid, it's so similar. I was watching, I was like, surely he has got to have had an influence now, because it's ridiculous. There's about 3 times now where I've seen stuff and I've gone,
it's exactly the same.
And I know the creator of it's quite a big film and TV fan, so I was like, oh, maybe he did.
Yeah, why not?
Maybe
Take some.
I'm going to look into this. I'm going to look into it.
Well, in this scene, the captain informs the admiral and informs him of the craft they've found, and the admiral instructs the captain to change course towards the object and ready the weapons. So straight into attack mode. But all of a sudden, this high-pitched noise, this sort of frequency, starts emitting throughout. Everyone sort of starts to hold their ears, and all the electrics start to explode, spark, there's fires, and the captain tells them to prepare to surface, but the radar operator basically says they're 32 feet under, they're under 32 feet of glacial ice. Where are we going to surface?
Not somewhere you want to be stuck, is it?
It certainly isn't, especially not with a submarine that no longer works.
Yeah.
And then we go into the intro. And we come back out where we left off, the Vacation Village Motor Lodge in Germantown, Maryland. And we see Scully. She obviously doesn't know who to believe. But she hangs up on the phone Mulder and tells the other Mulder. Before I go on, this episode is a nightmare for trying to convey who's who.
Yeah.
So just bear with me for that one. So she hangs up on phone Mulder and tells door Mulder.
Folder and Dolder. Yeah.
Folder and Dolder.
Yeah.
That it was just a wrong number, and she just basically tries to make some small talk with him about where he's been.
Really savvy, I thought. Like, really well done by her to sort of think, okay,
just keep him talking.
Yeah, to find out what's going on here.
And how did she? I do wonder how she knew which one was which.
Yeah.
Or whether she did.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's hard to tell. Maybe, I don't know at this point, whether she actually did know or...
But regardless, she makes the small talk and grabs her gun and tells him to put his hands up.
Mm-hmm.
Mulder protests, but eventually he hits Scully and disarms her. He asks where Mulder is, so we know now that this is obviously the bounty hunter. Mm-hmm. And when Scully doesn't answer, he picks her up by her throat and just launches her in the air.
I know, yeah.
Obviously, he's very strong.
I know, yeah, it's ridiculous, like, how strong this guy is.
And he shows it throughout the episode as well. And then he throws her through this glass table, and he reverts back to his sort of bounty hunter form, the form that we've seen him in before. And then we cut to later that day. It doesn't really explain what happens. But the real Mulder arrives at the hotel with his sister, and he surveys the area. Basically, his sister then interrupts him and says she's still alive, because the reason why they've taken her is that he would want Scully to be traded for her.
I really thought, before he transformed, obviously, I quite liked Duchovny's acting here, because he completely drops all mannerisms of Scully.
Yeah.
Of Mulder. He does drop Scully. But he's like completely parroting this guy, basically.
Yeah, it's like deadpan.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's easier. I'd say it was probably easier to do than other episodes that we've watched where they've tried to play two characters, because the bounty hunter is just so emotionless.
He's just blank, isn't he?
Yeah. So you just have to, as you say, if you cut out Mulder's mannerisms, then you've sort of halfway to the job already.
I did write a note down here, and it became really prevalent later on. When Mulder's sister is talking to him, I wrote down, she speaks really weird. She speaks she's just got a strange tinge to her. And I didn't think anything...
In what sense?
The way she put like sentences together just seemed odd.
Yeah,
and I know we've mentioned that before when they've encountered somebody. I was like, that's weird. And it just something like threw me off. And I like from that bit, I was like,
you had it in the back of your head.
Yeah, I was like, something. I didn't know what was going to happen like towards the end, but I just felt like something was weird about her. And that was when it, for me, at the beginning of the episode, I started to think, hang on, something's up with her. And I don't know what it is at the moment, but yeah, well, we find out.
We certainly do. So she goes, talking about Mulder's sister, she goes on to tell him that the bounty hunter will contact Mulder and request a trade. Mulder asks why he wants her dead, and she tells him because she knows how to kill him, and it's by piercing the base of his skull. She tells him that she's fairly sure it will work, but failure could spell death for whoever tries it, as their blood is toxic to humans, which we already know, to be fair.
Yeah, we've mentioned in the past.
Mulder asks how to find him and is told that he will find us. So they wait, and they wait until 12:38 at night. Mulder's basically pacing the office, and he's just waiting for this call. And he tells Sam that he's struggling to believe her, as she's only told him the bare minimum information. He knows next to nothing about the doctors, which she calls her family, knows next to nothing about the bounty hunter, apart from what he needs to know, basically.
Definitely has a point here, to be honest, that something... Again, now Mulder's sort of questioning what's going on.
Well, especially the lengths he's going to help Sam.
Yeah.
Like, you'd expect him to need to know a little bit more. Especially with Mulder's curiosity. You can't expect to tell Mulder about that there's aliens existing and not expect him to have a few questions.
Okay.
I always thought so. So Sam has to put it out on Front Street at this point, and she tells him that the men they've been searching originate from two original visitors, clones attempting to set up on a colony on Earth, and they now live across the globe, multiple of them. They believe human stewardship on this planet is becoming forsaken, and by default they will become the natural heirs to the planet. That's interesting. I mean, it doesn't sound like they're trying to harm humans.
Yeah.
It just sounds like they're setting up for when we're no longer around.
Yeah, they're sort of integrating in, and it's sort of like a subtle takeover. They're not like a forceful one. They're just trying to...
At least not for now.
Yeah.
She goes on to say that while they wait, they've been working on a way to erase the fact that they look like each other, which is one of the biggest disadvantages to clones. And they've been doing work in abortion clinics due to their access to tissue. And what they've basically been trying to do is splice human DNA with alien DNA, which, funnily enough, is the reason why the bounty hunter is hunting them. Because part of their species, I suppose, or race, or whatever you like to call it, see it as a dilution of their race and basically won't allow it, which is why they've sent bounty hunters after them.
Two things from this. One, the alien bounty hunters sound like alien Nazis at this point. They don't like mixing of DNA.
Well, you'd assume they're acting on... I mean, the very term bounty hunter assumes that they're acting on someone else's behalf. Maybe not his beliefs, but an alien government, for example. Exactly.
And also, the way she talks about it, and I think they mentioned something about it later on, it implies that there's actually two factions of these same aliens. There's sub-factions. One who's trying to integrate and colonize with humans, and one who sort of doesn't, is completely against that. And I don't know whether they want to take over by force or if they just don't want people getting involved. Like, I don't know what their motive is, but it does seem like there's these two factions now.
Don't you think it's crazy how, in the space of 2 episodes, we've gone from not really knowing whether aliens exist to knowing about this whole race that's having like these internal struggles against each other? It's like it's turned around so quick, and I didn't expect it to be this quick.
That's the thing. Like, really, I mean, before this, we knew
aliens existed.
Knew there were aliens. We knew there was some kind of like DNA kind of thing, because like with what with what happened to Scully and that. But we really didn't know like what else they were part of. But now it seems that like they've got a governmental structure. They've got this kind of schism between the two factions and stuff like that. These last 2 episodes have really filled out a lot of the mythology.
Oh, definitely.
And it's just really opened everything up. So we'll get to it.
So Sam basically finishes off with asking Mulder to trust her, saying that she's his sister, and they are interrupted by a knock at the door. Sam hides away, and Skinner enters. And Skinner finds Mulder sitting in the dark with his gun, very Bond villain-esque. And Sam approaches behind him with what looks like the ice pick, the weapon that the bounty hunter uses.
So, I didn't know if it was a screwdriver, but I mean...
It could be, but it looked like it in the dark. He asks... This is Skinner. Asks if Mulder is all right and tells him he's been trying to reach him, but to no avail. And then Sam suddenly turns on the lights and informs him Mulder he's not the bounty hunter. And Skinner doesn't know what to think, because like Mulder pulls a gun on him, doesn't he? Yeah. And Skinner's just like, what?
To be fair, at this point, I wasn't sure. I did write down, is this actually going to be Skinner, or is it somebody trying to pose as him? So,
well, that's the whole point, isn't it? It's like you can't trust anybody at this point. So
literally, no.
I wonder how she knew it wasn't him, because that must mean that there's a tell.
I think they was it one of the Gregors implies that they can see who is an alien.
Oh yes, they did. Yeah, so she can see and he can't. Yeah, I forgot about that. That's from the last episode, wasn't it? So she can tell that it's not him. Mulder starts to explain about his sister and Scully's disappearance, but is interrupted by the phone, and it's actually the bounty hunter. Oh no, it's not. Sorry, it's Scully. But under the bounty hunter's control. And she tells Mulder he needs to meet them in an hour at the old Memorial Bridge to make the trade for Scully. After the phone call, Mulder tells Skinner he has no time to explain and tells him if there was ever a time he would need his help and trust, it's now. And you can see sort of the cogs in Skinner's head. I love Skinner. He's one of my favourite characters.
I wrote down here, Skinner is going to be a badass this episode. Yeah. And lo and behold,
he was.
He is. He's the best character.
What a turnaround, because I used to hate him. But he just feels like in your time of need, when he will try and hold it together, and he won't let you get away with everything. But when it comes down to the crunch, he will be there. You know what I mean? And in this case, exactly, he was. So we jump to the old Memorial Bridge, straight to the trade, and Mulder pulls up on the bridge, and we see Skinner with this sort of sharpshooter, I suppose.
Yeah, he's like a sniper in it.
Next to him on the sort of river bay across the way.
I suppose he's had, like we even said, he's been in war and stuff. So I guess maybe this is sort of he's used to this, not used to it, but
well, he's definitely seen combat. Yeah, so
maybe he was a sniper or something like that in the past.
Oh yeah, maybe. But he's not holding the gun himself.
No.
It's somebody else. Before they go, before they sort of do the whole sort of what's it called, the standoff.
Oh yeah, the Mexican standoff.
Yeah.
Call them,
Mulder tells Sam that they're basically only pretending, and as soon as the trade is about to be made, they're going to take the shots. And she sort of enforces, make sure it's the back of the head, and he tells her that they know what they're doing. They know how to take this out. We've given them the instructions.
Yeah.
So they both get out, and they approach each other on the bridge, and the bounty hunter's got Scully in tow. They make the trade, and the bounty hunter grabs Mulder's sister, Sam.
All this time, like, he's got Scully grabbed tight to him, and like you keep seeing through the scope, and it's like there's no way they can take this shot without hurting Scully, and I think that's what they sort of
and
get
it's
at
the same with Sam once he grabs Sam.
Yeah.
However, in the meantime, Skinner has given the order to take the shot when they can, but Sam tries to stab him, and then basically in the scramble that ensues, the shot couldn't be taken. They end up, it's just too complicated. They end up behind like one of the columns of the bridge.
Yeah, you can't take
they just couldn't take it. Mulder tells them to let her go, that they're surrounded and there's nothing they can do. And the bounty hunter asks where she is. That's what those are the words he used. Where is she? I didn't really know what this meant.
No,
because this didn't make any sense. Obviously, later it does make a little bit more sense, and you sort of figure out. But at this point, I was like, he wanted Sam. Like, why? Who's he after now?
Yeah.
But then, out of nowhere, the shot gets taken, and him and Sam, the bounty hunter and Sam, both fall into the river below, just leaving Mulder screaming for his sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for this beginning part of the episode, again, really fast-paced. I do like second parts to sort of continuing storylines, because you can just get straight into the action.
There's a lot of action usually in the second part, yeah. I even wrote down here, it was that hard to take notes, because I was just like, what's happening next? Like, what's going on? I couldn't really make a comment on it, because it's like, well, it's just pure action.
Yeah, it's very tense. It is, yeah. And it was difficult to make notes on it, to be fair, because it wasn't like there wasn't that much dialogue, really. It was just a lot of things happening, so you just have to sort of keep on. Like, that's why it feels like this episode's just going to be me saying, and they went here, and they went there, and they went here. But, really interesting and very fast-paced. We jump to the next day, and a rescue team is searching the river whilst Mulder watches on. Scully arrives, and basically she's been at the hospital. They discuss if she's still alive. Scully tells him the water was freezing when they fell in. And Mulder mentions he's heard about people going into shock and surviving hours in temperatures like that. Basically, he's just trying to convince himself more than anybody else, I reckon.
Well, that's the thing. All the way through this part, it's just, you can tell the pure emotion that he's got in him, because this must be completely unreal to have lost his sister again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Especially in the next scene, which is quite hard to watch. But yeah, before that, Scully asks why he didn't tell her about his sister. And he tells her he couldn't, as Scully wouldn't have let him go through with the trade. She asks if he's unsure it's her. If he's sure it's her, should I say. And he angrily tells her that, why would you ask me that question? Like, you can't ask me that. I'm definitely sure. And to be fair, she makes a good point. I saw you earlier, that wasn't you, so how can you be sure? But he's 100% sure. And he tells Scully the bounty hunter is an alien, and he's already informed Skinner. But that was the easy part.
Yeah.
Now he's going to go tell his dad. So I started writing notes for this next scene with, we go to Muldad's house. And it didn't really feel right to keep calling him Muldad throughout this scene.
We will call him Muldad. We're not breaking kayfabe here.
Okay, fair enough. Mulder meets Muldad and tells him that Samantha's gone and he's lost her. And
Muldad's not happy.
Muldad, it's weird. You can tell he's angry, but he doesn't really show it. He's just sort of seething.
He's a very classic dad, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, do you know when you see, like, I don't know, like period drama, and there's the dad who's very standoffish on the kids, but they do something angry and he's just staring at them or something.
Just stern,
Yeah, I can imagine it like, what's that English program? The the one that everybody loves.
Downton Abbey.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine it's he's like a dad fan.
Very proper.
yeah, very proper.
So Mulder tells him about the bounty hunter and the trade for Scully, and he sort of turns away, and then as he turns back, you realise he's actually getting quite tearful, and he's welling up, and he tells him that he believed he was doing the right thing, but he has lost his sister again. And Mulder, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't.
Oh.
Mulder asks if he realised what this will do to his mother. The fact that she's found and then lost her daughter again. And Mulder he breaks down, just starts apologising.
It's like he reverts to a child here. Like,
yeah.
That's what it felt like.
But he gets no support from his dad.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. He's just very proper. He
just walks out angrily. He just wants to make him feel as bad as possible, and then just leaves. But he does give Mulder an envelope that Samantha left for him. And after he leaves, Mulder opens the letter, which reads, "If anything should happen to me, you must meet me here." And it contains an address for a woman's health clinic. So we go straight there. The woman's health clinic in Rockville, Maryland. Mulder arrives, but Scully does ring before he goes in and tells him to come back. They found Samantha's body in the water. She tells him he can't blame himself for this. And then we cut back to Scully, and Samantha's body is up there.
Yeah.
She's dead.
Yeah.
And this shocked me. I was like, what? Like, I thought... I didn't know what to see, what I was going to see here, you know what I mean?
That's for the very last scene... I wrote, I don't think she's gone. I don't think Samantha's dead. And then the very next thing, I wrote, I guess not.
Yeah,
because I thought, well, okay,
it's definitely her. Yeah, she's dead. That's it.
Maybe, I mean, in hindsight now, it is quite an easy set. Yeah, but at the time, you just believe it.
Well, you know what? I think the thing is, I think you're so trained to look out for a body shifter at this point. That I sort of forgot the whole clone aspect.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly,
I thought the fact that she's dead, well, that must have been her, and it's done. Because I was just looking for a shapeshifter.
Yeah.
Didn't even think that it might be more Samantha's out there, but anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Mulder asks about a second body, which Scully tells him there's been no sign of, and he tells her that he'll be there ASAP. But after the call, the paramedics rush to Scully and tell her she needs to see this. And they tell her something strange is happening to the body. A little bit of an understatement.
Yeah. It's a little strange, to be fair.
A little strange. Scully rushes to the ambulance and finds Samantha's face turning into a green acid. It's just melting.
Is that meant to happen?
And they just sort of stand there going, ooh, one of them puts his hand over his mouth. It's just it's so underacted. It's crazy.
I did like the effect here though, because it does look good.
It looks believable.
Like we said before, it could appear corny, but if you showed this clip out of context, I think somebody could say, "Oh, it's corny 90s effects." But because you've had all of this mythos behind it, it makes it believable, and the effect looked good because of that. I was like, you know what, it's good. It's good effect.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Scully just looks shocked at this, and we jump back to Mulder at the clinic, and he enters with the key card that was left, searches the building, eventually finds a doctor, asks her to turn around, and the doctor reveals herself to be Samantha.
What?
Billy Flip
is going on?
That is a very good question, but please, mind your profanity, Luke. You're too shocked, that's the problem. You just...
Sorry, I'll try and find the fudge line and put that in there.
What the fudge? Samantha asks if she's dead, and then tells Mulder to follow her. And they enter a room full of these vats with green liquid in. And another Samantha is working on them, so that's Samantha 2. And he realises basically says it was all a lie. And the Samantha 1 tells him
that they need nicknames. That's their problem.
Sam, Sammy, Samantha, Samarooney.
Samda.
Yes, Samalaya. God.
Samuelina.
Yeah. Miss S.
S. Yeah, Miss S. Yeah, Miss S. Sounds like some kind of, like, I don't know, badass, like, assassin.
We'll stick to Sam 1, Sam 2 for now.
Yeah.
So, yeah. She takes it in to see Sam 2, and Sam 1 tells Mulder that they needed to manipulate him and deceive him, as the bounty hunter is basically coming for them. Mulder tells them that he's dead, but they don't believe it, and until they've seen the body, they won't believe it. Samantha 2 leads him to Samantha 3, and Samantha 3... God, it's so confusing. Samantha 3 explains that the rest are dispensable, but she is the first. Oh, no, sorry, that's the second Samantha saying that. Yeah. Samantha 3, who should be Samantha 1, because she's the first.
Yeah, she's the one. No, Samantha 3 is the first one, okay.
Yeah, Samantha 3 is the first one. Yeah. She's the original one.
Samantha 3, a.k.a. the first.
The first, obviously.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she's the original Samantha, the one that all the others are cloned from. She's not dispensable. She's the one that everyone's protecting.
Two things on this. One, that's my prediction knackered.
Yes, it is.
Straight away,
yeah.
So scratch that point off. Also, how fucked up must this be for Mulder? He's just... So not only has he lost his sister when he's a kid, he's now gained her, who's now died again in his head.
Yep.
And now he's met 3 clones of his sister.
But then they revealed they're not his sister.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's going through a lot of stuff.
He's having a tough day, to be honest.
Yeah. I bet you, like, of the morning, he probably stubbed his toe or something like that as well. He's like, oh, how could this day get any worse? Well, we'll see. Mulder tells them that he's not their saviour, and he's choosing to walk out of there. But she tells them they know where his sister is. Oh, there's another one, actually, yeah. He goes on to ask... Oh, sorry. Samantha goes on to say, how... Are they even Samantha anymore? Like, what do I call them?
I don't know. I guess they're Samantha. Sort of like how Gregors were... They're just a name they had.
Yeah.
I guess you were right about that woman driving Gregor being the Samantha as well. The other woman who was
I think it was,
I think it was, because you mentioned it, and initially we were like, nah, it can't be.
Yeah.
How wrong?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, she basically says, how do you think we knew all that stuff that we knew about your sister?
Yeah.
We know where she is, and you've got to help us to find out. An alarm starts to ring, and basically Mulder goes to investigate. Before long, he just gets knocked out by the bounty hunter.
What a hit.
It's just one punch, and he's out for the count.
Yeah.
And the bounty hunter goes into the facility armed with his ice pick.
Mm-hmm.
And then we jump to later that day, and the fire brigade are working on putting out this massive blaze in the facility. And one fireman comes along, finds Mulder, says, we've got one here, we've got one. Escorts him out of the building, and Mulder sort of comes around at this point, and he says, what about the others? And the fireman says, there's nobody else, we've looked. Pretty sure that's not how firemen should respond to that. Like, literally, they've only just found Mulder, so obviously they've not searched everywhere, they've just found him.
Yeah.
Mulder says, there are definitely other people in this building. And they're like, nah, I don't think so. We've looked a lot. We've pretty much searched most of the building.
Yeah, we've done 10 minutes and we ain't doing any more. So, sorry.
Yeah, they just dismiss that there's anybody else.
Yeah, so be careful if you get trapped in a fire.
Then at the FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C., Scully is writing her report. This is a strange one. A report in the middle of an episode.
I know, yeah. Usually it's the beginning, end.
They need some... what's the word again?
Exposition.
Yeah, that's what they needed. They need some exposition. Yeah. So, she notes that no other bodies were found at the clinic despite extra searches that Mulder demanded. And Mulder's claims are so far unfounded. She mentioned the bounty hunter is still at large and wanted for the murder of FBI agent Weiss, who died in the last episode, whose body is still quarantined. Upon his death, his blood thickened, which hints towards being exposed to some sort of virus, which they have never seen before. Scully talks to another doctor about this blood sample, who mentions he has found the virus can be controlled by lowering the blood temperature. Or just the temperature of the body in general.
Which, as soon as they mentioned this, I was instantly like, that's what was happening at the beginning.
Exactly, that's we know where it's going to go with that.
Yeah.
Scully tells him about the body that corroded after thawing out from the freezing water, which was Samantha's body. and excuses herself to go and figure this out. At the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., X is leaving the building and meets Mulder. And he seems annoyed by the manner of the meeting and how quickly he's had to meet Mulder.
I know, yeah. He never seems happy to see him, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of X. I really don't like him.
No,
this episode confirms it for me as well.
X is like, yeah. X is like the bad version of Deep Throat. Deep Throat's willing to get stuck in and ultimately get killed for it. X is very, I ain't doing more than I need to.
Yeah.
Like
the thing is with X is he's introduced himself to Mulder. He obviously wants Mulder's help, or he wants Mulder to be continuing his work. Mm-hmm. But then he has to go at Mulder for doing his work most of the time. Like, you can't have it both ways. You can't be annoyed that Mulder is searching for answers when you're asking him to search for answers.
I know, I don't know.
I know it's all about self-preservation, but...
Yeah, sure. There's a point where you have to do a bit more than he's doing at the moment, because like...
Or cut ties altogether.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Do it or don't, basically. Yeah.
So Mulder asks for his help, but X tells him it's over. All the Samanthas are dead. Mm-hmm. Which, again, shocked me a little bit, because I was like, oh, they've probably been taken hostage. No, they've just been killed. And this is probably... Sorry, I keep on going off on tangents. This is probably one of the most... what's the word? Effective villains that we've seen on the show. For actually getting the job done.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, yeah.
Because... Mulder tries to stop him numerous times, and he actually never stops him.
No.
The bounty hunter just does what he wants to do.
He gets his mission done and then leaves.
Yeah.
So
he is...
And nearly kills Mulder in the concert, so I mean...
He is probably one of the most formidable foes that we've seen so far. I wonder whether we'll see him again.
More formidable than... What was the other guy, the crew cut man? Because he died fairly...
Yeah. I thought he was going to be formidable, but he wasn't.
No,
he just died straight away.
Shot by some random guy. But yeah, I'm hoping this guy's like sort of pops up again.
I'd like to see him again. Yeah, and I don't see why we won't.
There's still more stuff to do. Probably, I don't know.
That's a wild accusation.
I guess there's more alien stuff.
So yeah, he tells them all the Samanthas are dead, and Mulder tells him the one who killed them is still alive, and asks where he is. X tells them that the submarine engaged with a craft 5 days ago, but were basically unsuccessful. And he goes on to say that an attack fleet has been sent out to that craft to make sure that this man does not leave. Mulder says he wants to go too, but X tells him he will only win the war if he picks the right battles, and this is a battle he cannot win. So we both know at this point that Mulder's going, don't we? Like, I mean, yes, we know because he's picked up in ice temperatures, so we know he's going to go. Yeah. But still, there's no way you're stopping him. There's no way.
I also liked in this, it sort of confirms that there is this outside alien presence attacking the internal alien presence on the planet as well. So yeah, it sort of makes it more obvious that the government's working with with one of the sides as well.
Or against, because the thing is, we know the government are working with some aliens, because we've seen that in previous episodes, but they are actively against this bounty hunter.
Yeah.
So it does look like some sort of, like you say, factions are between this sort of race.
Well, it could be just like a civil war between these two alien races. Like, it's the same race, but like one's got this idea of we should be racially pure, or something like the Nazi kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And the others could be, no, we need to integrate. We need to spread for I don't know, galaxy. I don't know how it works.
Together we're stronger. It does make me wonder, because obviously this is the one alien race that we've come into contact with so far. Do you think there are other types of aliens?
I mean, there could be. Like,
you'd assume that there would be, really, wouldn't you?
Yeah, maybe there is. Like, as we get later on, like, again, there's that much that can happen. Maybe they can't just all be about this one type, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because we don't even have a name for them yet.
These could be from Mars, and
that someone of us from Venus.
Yeah.
And we know they don't get on. But no, I mean, there's a long enough, 12 series and 2 films or something like that. There's got to be more scope for expanding out of just this one alien race that we know of at the moment. And like I said, we don't even know their name at the moment. So so
we've got a lot to find out about this particular race first.
Before, I don't know, some kind of blob.
Yeah.
Like that turns up.
Scully is at Mulder's door, and she's knocking, but he doesn't answer. And she notices multiple papers have been left outside, so obviously he's not been in. So she lets herself in and immediately checks his computer. And she also notices an X has been sort of sellotaped to his window, and we know he's called X using that technique before.
Yeah.
On the computer, she reads a note intended for her, and it reads, "Scully, when you get this message, I will be too far away for you to stop me. But where I'm going, I cannot allow you to follow. I won't let you jeopardize your life and your career for reasons purely personal to me. You were right, Scully. You said a line has to be drawn somewhere. I'm drawing it for you here. I'll contact you when I can."
This never works out well for them, does it?
No. How many times is he going to go on one of these suicide missions? No. And he knows she's going to follow, surely.
I hope this is the last time, especially the ending scene seemed to imply to me that he knows that they can't keep doing this on their own and they need to work together. But again, that's for another time.
Yeah. And as we all knew would happen, Scully leaves and goes directly to Skinner's office. She has to speak off the record about Mulder.
Did you notice the little picture of Bill Clinton in there smiling?
Yeah, I did. His little memorial. It's not a memorial. What's shrine to him almost?
Yeah. To be fair, I think they've got there's Bill Clinton on one wall and there's another president or some other chief of staff.
Who would have been? Did we? I know we spoke about this a couple of episodes ago.
I think it was Clinton at the time.
Is it Clinton at the time?
So it was in 95. I think he was in office until he was still George Bush, wasn't he? I'm sure Clinton was.
Why do we make ourselves look so stupid? I don't think he was.
Right. You crack on.
Shall I? No, let's do a pop quiz. And we've done this before on this show, I know we have, but let's do a pop quiz. Right, I'm going to go backwards through presidents, and you're going to tell me if I'm right.
Okay, alright.
Okay.
Wait there. Let me load it up first.
Okay.
Whitehouse.gov.
Well, I'm going to start, because I'm pretty sure you can keep up.
Okay.
President Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's Donald J. Trump.
Donald J. Trump.
Yeah.
Barack Obama.
Yeah.
George Bush Jr.
Yeah, George W. Bush, yeah.
Clinton.
It is Clinton.
It is Clinton. So before Clinton, I'm going to say... I don't know. I don't think it's Reagan, is it?
No.
Reagan was 20s, wasn't he? I don't know. This is how bad I am at presidents.
1, 2, 3, 4. You did 4.
Was it George Bush Sr.?
Yeah.
Ah, I should have got that one.
George Bush, let's go from there.
George Bush Sr. Abraham Lincoln.
bit of a jump there.
I don't know.
It was Reagan.
Was it Reagan after that?
Yeah.
Shit.
James Carter next.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got that one.
Gerald Ford and then Richard Nixon. I don't think we should keep going.
No.
Because...
We've got a podcast to record.
We've got a podcast to do. And to be honest, most of our listeners are American. Are like, well, yeah, these are the presidents. They could probably...
Yeah. We say that as if, it's only because we're American. Let's do prime ministers. Come on, get the prime minister list up.
Okay.
And let's show ourselves up on that as well. So...
British prime ministers, okay.
So we've got Theresa May.
Right, wait there. Hang on a bit. Yeah, okay.
Theresa May, David Cameron.
Yeah.
Gordon Brown.
Yeah.
Tony Blair.
Yeah.
Margaret Thatcher?
No, you skip one. John Major.
John Major, of course. Yeah, it's John Major.
I wouldn't have guessed the one before Margaret Thatcher, though.
Go on.
James Callaghan?
No, I have no idea who that is. The only one before Thatcher I know is Churchill.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Hey, Churchill did it. Oh, no.
He did twice, didn't he?
I think so, yeah, because he was 1951 to 55. That was when in these wacky days, wasn't he?
Yeah. He came in as a sort of an emergency prime minister for the war, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then he did another term.
He went a bit off the deep end, didn't he? Churchill, apparently, towards the end.
Wow, there's all this theories about him now anyway, isn't there? There's like this controversy about him. I don't know.
I think it was his dealing with Ireland back in the 20s and stuff like that. Which, to be fair, England didn't deal well with Ireland in the 20s.
No, that's certainly true.
But anyway, we should probably not touch on politics.
And on with the show. So yeah, she asks if there's any way Skinner can reach him through unofficial means. And Skinner refuses. Skinner says that he's got to keep, thinking about his job, thinking about Scully's job, and basically saying if Mulder wanted them to find him, he would have told them where he was going.
He's got a point.
He has, and he tells Scully to close the door on her way out.
I feel like he's probably sick of this as well. Mulder's gone off and he's like, again?
Yeah.
Again?
But Scully does leave, and he does sort of do this longing glance to the door as if he knows someone's in trouble. He knows what he should be doing.
Yeah.
So later that night, Scully goes back to Mulder's apartment and shines a light on the X symbol on his window, and eventually falls asleep, and is awoken by somebody knocking at the door. And she answers, and I thought, this is going to be Skinner, this is going to be Skinner. No, X. He's just come round for a little house call.
Yeah.
Like, it just feels weird. Like, why would he just turn up every time? You know what I mean?
This was dangerous for Scully because, really, X doesn't know who she is. If somebody had signalled for X and then somebody else is there, X could have just been like, bang, shot her, and that's it. Like, because, yeah, he doesn't know who she is. He's already shown that he's happy to kill people that he doesn't trust. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, she asks him where Mulder is, and X pretends he has the wrong apartment. She follows him, keeps asking, and he gets in the elevator, and as the doors are closing, he tells her he's sorry he couldn't help. And then the door closes. And then the best scene in the whole show. What have you put on your notes? This sequence is awesome.
No.
Oh!
Flip.
Skinner is hard as
Flip.
It was the nut.
This
guy.
I love Skinner. Yeah, this is such a cool
he's the best
scene.
character now.
So the elevator stops the next floor down, and Skinner appears and asks if he told her what she needs to know. He then grabs X, headbutts him, pushes him against the wall. Oh no, so he pushes him against the wall, headbutts him, and they get into like this sort of scuffle in the elevator, which, quite frankly, Skinner's winning.
Yeah.
X has to pull a gun on him to stop him. He tells Skinner he's killed men for far less, but Skinner tells him if he pulls that trigger, he will be killing 2 men, and he wants to know where Mulder is.
What a line. What a line.
So cool under pressure as well. Fair
Got a
play.
gun at him, and he's just told him, don't even try, son.
Yeah,
basically. What a guy.
Later, Skinner appears at Mulder's apartment and tells Scully Mulder took a military flight to Alaska and gives her the coordinates for the final destination. She asks him how he got this, and he responds, unofficial channels. What a badass.
He's the best
What
guy.
a badass.
I would have loved to have known Scully's thoughts, to see Skinner, her boss, turn up at Mulder's door with a massive gash on his forehead.
But the thing is with him, he's not your stereotypical hero, is he?
No.
Like, he doesn't look like your hero character.
And he doesn't act... The way he acts isn't, like, typically heroic, you know what I mean? Like, he does things which are in the greater good, I guess, for the rest of the characters. But he's a bit mean about it, you know what I mean? Like,
And now at this point, we jump to where Mulder is. As we know, he's in Dead Horse, Alaska. And he's following the coordinates on this sort of device that he's got. And he finds the submarine, or at least the top part of the submarine that's sort of broken through the ice.
yeah, I don't know what they're called. The top.
I called it the fin, and that seems to make sense to
might
me.
be the fin, yeah.
But
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure myself. He enters the sub and starts to search, and he finds bodies just scattered on the floor. Look like the whole crew has basically died. And he hears a noise and suddenly and gives chase, and eventually finds this man hiding. He asks him what happened, and the survivor tells him that they lost power and have been stranded for days. He looks at Mulder at once, and Mulder just screams at him and says, Don't look at me. You know, keep your hands on the table. You don't look at me." And Mulder asks, "Why did you run? If you're just a sole survivor, why did you run?" And he says that the man came and sealed most of the crew below deck without air, and executed anybody that wasn't below deck.
Yeah.
He hid under the body of an officer and played dead, and that's the only reason why he survived.
I completely believe this guy in this bit. I wrote down, I was like, man, if this is the bounty hunter, he's a really good actor.
Yeah.
He's a really good actor.
He really is,
He
because...
completely sold it to me.
But he doesn't sell it to Mulder.
No.
Because the lights go on all of a sudden, and Mulder uses this distraction to handcuff the man. And he tells him to tell him where his sister is, and he will let him go back to his ship before the military destroy it. The man reveals himself to be the bounty hunter, and just picks Mulder up like he's a plaything.
Yeah.
Literally just throws him across the room. Again,
this Terminator connection that I thought of, he's just throwing this guy around. He's unstoppable.
Yeah, it's under... what's the word? It basically doesn't really go into it, but it underplays how strong this guy is. Because that's a huge aspect of what he can do. He tells Mulder he could have killed him many times before if he wanted to. And he continues to beat Mulder up. But Mulder just keeps asking where she is. And the bounty hunter finally tells him that she's alive. Now is it okay for you to die?
Yeah.
And he starts dragging him. And he's dragging him all the way up to the top of the submarine, through the fin, if that's what it's called. And just chucks him out. Mulder does manage to grab his gun during all this and shoot him. Doesn't do it any difference. The only thing it does is some of the acid from the gun wound falls on Mulder and leaves him in agony.
Yeah.
The bounty hunter drags him, throws him out of the submarine, closes it back up and goes back inside. And Mulder's left out on the ice. And the sub's lights all turn on, and you see the sort of the retractors sort of start going vertical, ready for descent again.
Yeah. I can't believe he can drive a submarine.
I know, yeah. Where's he learned this from? Yeah.
I don't know. What do you do? Sail? Drive a submarine?
Do
you do?
Oh, that's a good point. Swim? Do you swim a submarine? No, that doesn't sound right.
Sounds weird, yeah.
So you
Pilot?
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
You pilot submarine, that's it. So anyway, as the Mulder's directly underneath one of these sort of fins that are coming down as it's submerging, he's almost dragged down with it, but he does manage, because obviously he's blinded by this acid or whatever.
Yeah. All of this scene, by the way, I thought was absolutely fantastic. From the beginning, the cinematography of him walking up, on his own, with all the snow up to the ship, to the actual bit inside the ship with the darkness and that, and then the fight scene, choreography and everything. Brilliant. This was my favourite scene. God, I don't know, maybe of this series. I really enjoyed this part.
It was really great.
Yeah.
And as I say, he narrowly misses being dragged down with the sub. And we cut back now to the scene that we first started in the last episode.
Yeah.
Which is where Scully's telling the doctors that the cold is the only thing keeping Mulder alive. She goes on to explain the virus to the doctors, and she comes up against a little bit of resistance, but eventually, through pure sheer will, forces them to take over.
I know,
and she sort of basically saves Mulder's life.
She was one step away from hitting this guy.
And she would have if he'd have said no. He should have hit him. She managed to get his heart going again, and she stays with him all night as this voiceover says that multiple transfusions of his blood, as well as an antivirus, eventually improve his condition and confirm that he has been exposed to this virus that the others have been. The search team that found him have not located the submarine or the bounty hunter, and in her report she says several aspects of this case remain unexplained, suggesting the possibility of paranormal phenomena. But I'm going to read this verbatim.
Yeah.
But I am convinced that to accept such conclusions is to abandon all hopes of understanding the scientific events behind them. She goes on to say that despite the uncertainty, she feels the need to find scientific answers to these questions. After all, it was science that saved Mulder's life.
Yeah.
This is an interesting little snippet here.
Yeah, I thought that, because she always seems to start believing it, and then when she writes it down, she discounts what she appeared to believe. So I don't know if this is her trying to rationalise it for whoever she's writing the reports for, or if this is her doing it for herself. I can't work it out.
I didn't read it like that. I read it like that she's accepting that she doesn't know what's going on, or these crazy things are happening, but she's going to endeavour to try and explain them through science, because regardless of whether it can be explained, her pursuit is only going to lead to helping. Do you know what I mean?
True, that is true, yeah.
So that's the way I read it, but it's very interesting, and it does show what Scully can bring to the table, because it's all well and good having Mulder's blind faith, but if it wasn't for Scully's logical way of looking at the situation, no one would have known about the blood. Literally Mulder would have died because they'd have taken him out of the water.
No, that's true. I also like this scene as well, as I mentioned earlier. It becomes apparent now that the amount of times these two save each other, they can't split up. They can't keep doing things on their own.
They're much better together. They really are. As
soon as they split up, one of them gets seriously injured.
Yeah, every time. Every time.
So I think this has to be the last time. And I mean, long-time listeners, long-time watchers, should I say, of the X-Files are probably thinking, no, they're going to do it again. But I hope this is the last time.
Well, the last scene shows Scully eventually going to see Mulder.
Yeah.
And he wakes up and she holds his hand. And she asks how he's feeling, and he says like he's got a bad case of freezer burn.
Yeah.
And he asks how he got there. Scully explains how he ended up there and thanks him for ditching her. And he tells her he couldn't let her risk her life on this. But she asks if he found what he was looking for. And he tells her no, he hasn't. But he found something he thought he lost. The faith to keep looking. And that's where we end the show.
I did like in that last bit as well, he mentions drawing a line, and he drew the line for her there.
Yeah.
Again, this is something he mentioned in the first part of the episode of like drawing a line. She says to him he has to draw a line, and so it's sort of him trying to say, I did this because you told me to. But,
yeah. But that's not going to fly. Not with Scully.
No, not at all.
But did you enjoy the episode?
Do you know what? I like this one better than the first part. Just because I thought I just thought it was a good conclusion to that first setup.
Yeah.
Like, we got a lot of the lore in the first one, but I think a lot more came out, a lot more questions came out of the second one. Like we were saying about these two factions now. We now know that it's not just one alien race, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's some kind of power grab, I guess, between two parts of this race.
Yeah.
So.
Or at least it's not as clear cut as they're taking over, or you know what I mean. There's definitely some sort of power struggle.
That's the thing. I like the fact again that in the first one we got all these answers. In this one we got a lot of questions. So it does. It leads you to carry on watching it. And yeah, it makes me look forward to the next mythology episode.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And yeah, some of the scenes in this were outstanding. Like the fight scenes as well in its own. Like the part where the Bentians fighting with Scully.
Yeah.
The fight with Skinner and X, and then the ending part as well. Like it really picked up the action quota. I think for this one, which we don't see too. Like there's usually a lot more investigation, so it was quite interesting to see a more pure action episode. And I thought that bit with the ice, like on the snow with the submarine, just looked awesome.
Yeah,
I was really impressed with that. So yeah, I really really enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, much the same for me. Like I find it difficult to look at this episode without looking at them both as a whole.
It's tough, isn't it, when it's a two-parter?
So as a whole, the two-parter I absolutely adored. I thought it was really good.
Yeah,
I can't wait to get to the next mythological episode. Which I assume now is probably going to be the last couple of episodes.
It's got to be a while off, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd imagine. But really, really just the gravitas of what's happened in these last two episodes and how forward what a huge leap forward we've made in the sort of the story of the X-Files. Really, really impressed. I really enjoyed it. A little bit shocking. We've got a lot of questions, but that's good. It keeps me wanting to watch more.
Yeah, exactly.
I assume that we're going to have a few months of the weeks after this, mind.
Probably.
That's my guess, but we'll see. We'll see. So that's the end of the episode. So now we get to our favourite segment.
Luke's production notes.
This was the first episode of the series written by Frank Spotnitz. Spotnitz, who came up with the idea to bring back... Sorry, I thought I'd said it wrong then.
Oh, no.
Spotnitz, who came up with the idea to bring back Samantha Mulder in Colony, wrote this episode, its first credited work on the show. That repeated the same thing, basically. According to Spotnitz, he, along with Chris Carter, were overly ambitious when writing this episode. Since this was Spotnitz's debut as a television writer, he got significant help from Carter to put the script together. All of the scenes originally pitched by Spotnitz that's hard to say quickly, were kept, except for a car chase scene that ended with a crash, and one where Mulder mistakes a federal marshal for the bounty hunter. The scenes were cut due to time restraints during filming.
I would have liked to have seen that, actually. Because we saw Mulder figuring... to be fair, we did see it with Skinner, I suppose. Because what I was going to say was, I'd have liked to have seen them accuse someone of being it and then it not being them.
Yeah.
But then we did see that, I suppose, with Skinner, so to a certain extent.
To be fair, that's probably all you needed from that as well.
Yeah. Although Skinner didn't really react. Like, you'd expect him to be a lot angrier.
He didn't care. He's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
You're going to shoot me.
I reckon the bullet would have bounced off him anyway.
We've sort of, there's this meme going on at the moment of Shaggy from Scooby-Doo being like some godlike level being.
No, I've not seen it.
It's the new meme, apparently. It's what all the kids are doing these days.
Okay.
We could start this, but for our crowd, Skinner. Like an unbeatable Skinner. He's like some kind of god.
You watch him die in the next episode.
Don't depress me.
Well, I'm almost certain he doesn't, and I'll tell you why. I looked. I was in HMV the other day, and I looked at the X-Files Blu-ray box set. I was looking, and I was pricing it up. I was thinking, I might.
It's quite expensive from what I remember.
It's about £55.
Oh, that's not bad for a Blu-ray set.
Yeah, it's not too bad. But there's 4 characters on the box. It's Mulder and Scully, Cigarette Smoking Man, and Skinner. So I'm assuming he's a long-term character.
Yeah, he's got to be there. But we shall see. Maybe they're just trying to throw you off the
psych us out, you never know.
Spotsnitz later became a frequent collaborator on many of the subsequent mythology episodes of the show, as well as co-writing the 2 feature films.
Oh, really? Interesting. Well, that's good, because, to be fair, you do want a little bit of consistency throughout the main storylines. Especially
now we've lost like the 2 other guys who used to do it a lot, so makes sense. It turned out in this episode that Samantha Mulder, who was played by Megan Leach, I think we had this problem last time, who appeared, was a clone. Carter did not want it to be the real Samantha, since this would have been straight science fiction, and it was too ridiculous to give too many answers.
That's fair enough.
Spotsnitz further explained that the production crew never saw The X-Files as a science fiction show, but more of a show that incorporated science fiction, and that this and previous episodes, Colony, were more of a suspense thriller than any other genre.
If it's not a science fiction show, what genre would you call it? Then a crime?
That's the thing. It's more. It is quite similar to like a police procedural, like this kind of like detective show, but the trouble
just with that element. Yeah.
I suppose the crimes in this one aren't a man's been murdered. It's a man's been murdered, and the guy is an alien.
But again, I find like I like those little twists on it, and you are right. It is like a police procedural. Again, I know I've mentioned it a few times. One of my favourite shows of all time. In fact, it's up there. Like it's either Lost or this, but is Firefly. Yeah. And I think the reason why Firefly is so interesting is because, like X-Files, it's not a sci-fi show. It's actually a Western show. It's a Western TV program with sci-fi elements.
Just so happens the setting's space.
Yeah, that's all. That's the only difference. But if you boil it down, it's a Western TV show. And it just adds a little bit of extra, because let's be honest, there's so many sci-fi shows out there that you need to stand out.
That's the thing. Like, if you just did something that was just sci-fi, you'd end up looking too similar to like Star Trek or something like that. Yeah. And really, that's got enough of. Well, you've seen that many. There's like Star Trek, Babylon 5, and like all these ones, and they sort of, to outsiders like who aren't hardcore into science fiction, they all just blend in as one thing, really. So,
definitely.
Yeah, you might need an ISP, I suppose, to get breaking in. Anyway, Chris Carter described the Colony and Endgame two-parter as the backbone of the show, the romantic quest of Mulder for the truth, and Scully as well, and that it led Scully to believe in the conspiracy.
Yeah, you can see that.
Yeah.
You can see that at the episode. It's what we talked about, wasn't it?
Especially these two now. I think she's fully on board with what's going on.
Yeah.
She's still sceptical, as Scully is going to be, and she's always going to look for the science in the situation, but she's not dismissive. And as we've seen this entire series, she's not dismissive of what's happening anymore.
No, she's not. She's on board with what's going on. And to be fair, you'd have to be, wouldn't you? Because like, there's only so much proof that she can have without realising. But you've not lost the Scully dynamic because, like she said, she's always still going to find the logical explanation for things. Well, or at least strive for that.
I think, didn't she say in an episode once where, or was it Mulder, who said basically the paranormal's just science that hasn't been explained yet or something like that?
Sounds like a very Mulder thing to say.
Yeah, maybe she's more following those lines now, I suppose. So
it's interesting.
We shall see. The motel scene with the bounty hunter and Dana Scully was shot on a soundstage in Vancouver, British Columbia, in a simple motel room set. The scene featured Scully being beaten up by the bounty hunter was primarily performed by a stunt woman. The grunt uttered when thrown through a table was insisted on by standards and practices, given the reason that the show needed to make it clear for the viewers that she was not dead. According to executive producer Frank Spotsnitz, it was an arcane, bizarre logic that you had to deal with when you were putting a show on network television.
That's very interesting. Yeah. I didn't even notice a grunt, to be fair.
No,
I'm going to have to go back and have a listen.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, it's a strange thing. It's always the same, isn't it, with TV? So they have these weird rules about stuff. I mean, they're a bit more lax now, but still, there's still strange rules. I think, it's The Walking Dead's like that at the moment, isn't it? Because it's on ABC. It's like a network thing. So they don't want the character of Negan to swear. Like, in the comic, as you know...
he's foul-mouthed.
Yeah, he's saying the F word literally, like, every panel. But they don't want him to swear in this one because they don't want him to swear at all. But they're happy with him caving someone's skull in with a bat, and it's like, what?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's weird where they draw
a weird hill to die on, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. But again, that's network television, I suppose.
I don't think Negan's even in it anymore. So you're dating this podcast. You've not watched Walking Dead for a long time, have you?
I have not watched it in a while.
Me neither. I watched it when it was good.
I watched it when...
What happened to Walking Dead? Because it was such a good show. Like, you can't take it away from the show itself that it was a good show, but my God, it went on too long.
It had a really strong start, sort of dipped for a bit, and then sort of ramped back up. And then now it just... Every review I ever read of it is just like... Why are we still watching this?
Yeah.
And that, to me, is just like, I'm not going to invest in this.
No, it's not worth it.
So, I don't know. Maybe if there's any listeners out there who still do watch it, do you enjoy it? If you do, let us know why.
Yeah.
And if you think...
I mean, we're not white. We're not saying we're white by any means. It's just, I fell off a cliff with it, and I know you did as well.
Yeah,
And for all we know, it might be absolutely amazing now, because I haven't watched it, but...
is he definitely not in it anymore?
Sorry? I don't think so. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but from what I can gather, that sort of arc ended. But Rick's not in it anymore either, is he?
Is it not?
No. Well, not that I'm... Well, that was the big... For all I know, that was the big hook, was... I'm pretty sure... I'm not spoiling it, because I just know that Andrew Lincoln isn't cast in The Walking Dead anymore.
Yeah, that's it. I can't imagine The Walking Dead without Rick.
Well, maybe that's the change that they needed. You never know. It might be great.
As director, Rob Bowman was dissatisfied with the first take of Skinner shoving X against the elevator wall. Mitch Pileggi, who plays Skinner, and Stephen Williams, who plays X, decided to do the stunt for real, and Pileggi did it with so much strength that it broke the back of the elevator scenery. So not only is Skinner a badass as a character, I think he is as a real-life human being as well.
I love it. Yeah. That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Williams' background in fight choreography, stemming from his role in Missing in Action 2, The Beginning. Okay. Sounds like a good film.
Yeah.
Allowed him to help in the choreography of the brawl. So there you go. It was hands-on.
It was a good fight scene. It was a good fight scene.
It seemed realistic, to be honest. Like, just two guys, just, like I said, one nut and he's down. And like...
You know what the problem is now? The choreography of fight scenes in modern television is just exceptional. And it's not to take anything away from X-Files, but it's just moved on so much that I don't think it would be as appreciated as it should be. It's a fine fight scene. I always go to Daredevil Season 1.
Yeah, the corridor scene.
The corridor scene. And that is just one phenomenal, realistic fight scene.
Always reminds me of Old Boy, that does.
Yeah. Another great example. Yeah. And so it's just moved on so much that I don't think this would get the appreciation it deserves, but as just a realistic fight scene, I thought it worked.
Do you know what, though? I think as two different things, because like the Daredevil scene is like this martial artist taking on all these guys, and you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Whereas this is just two
dudes.
Two tough ex-military guys who are just like wolfed down.
Yeah.
Little like scrum basically, and one pulls a gun. It's quite a realistic sort of representation of a fight, I suppose. Like, it's
definitely.
The two ends of the spectrum, but I think both work. So,
yeah, definitely.
I'm happy how it turned out anyway. 140 tons of snow and ice were trucked into a soundstage to create the scene with the submarine toward the end of the episode, and the stage had to be refrigerated for 5 days.
Bloody hell.
That sounds expensive.
Yeah. It always boggles my mind hearing things like that, because I always just think, wouldn't it be cheaper just to hire a helicopter to go there?
Maybe.
Do you know what I mean? I know it's not, because otherwise they would do it.
Yeah.
Like, but it just doesn't make sense to me that it's not cheaper just to go there.
I think maybe it's just too cold, you know what I mean, to do
it.
Maybe the equipment would just break down or something.
Possibly, yeah.
I'm not sure, but who knows. But yeah, it does sound ridiculous. Yeah. The control tower scenery was able to rise or lower only 5 feet, leading to restrictions such as filming on black backdrops.
Oh.
And I think we mentioned this in the last one. A decommissioned destroyer, the HMCS Mackenzie, was rented from the Royal Canada Navy and used for the submarine interior. It was reused in two episodes later. It was reused 2 episodes later, should I say, for interior shots in an episode called Dodd Khan.
Forward to watching that one.
Yeah, that's 2 episodes to go, I suppose. But anyway, that's the end of the production notes this week.
Superb, good stuff. Well, I say we get through a little bit of feedback that we've received.
Yeah.
So we'll just pick a few at random, and I think we'll go for it there. So I'll tell you what. I'll start us off. Mm-hmm. We've got Ray Noel. That's tweeted in, and she put this is replying to our last episode. So she put, so Muldad lives in Martha's Vineyard, and that's not Mumda's name. Martha's Vineyard is the name of a big island in Massachusetts. You guys can Google it. It's a tourist spot, and residents have lovely homes. They have lovely homes.
How have we made so many
in-jokes?
What has happened?
She does go on to say, Colony, in my opinion, is one of the best Myth Arc episodes, and I completely agree with that. Yeah. And I did have a look at Martha's Vineyard. I don't know if you saw the tweet. Did you have a look? It is fancy.
Is it?
Oh my god, it's so fancy. Like these big mansions, and none of them look the same. All of them got like their own little. One of them looks like a castle. It's crazy. It looks, and yeah, I did message her back, and she tweeted back saying, "Yeah, Mulder's family is rich." So honestly, it looks beautiful. It looks stunning.
A potential place for if we ever go on an X-Files themed holiday.
Yeah, there you go. Let's do it in Massachusetts.
We did have an email as well. If you want me to read that.
Oh, I didn't see the email.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I've got locked out of the account.
I'll have to let you back in. I don't know what happened there.
But I will. You get my initial reaction from this email, so that's good.
So, this is an email from Neil Holmes entitled WWE in X-Files. So, immediately when I saw the subject, I was...
Interesting.
Oh my.
I like it, okay.
So, he started, hi guys, the podcrap... Good start.
The podcrap. Is that what he called it? You know what, Neil? I don't appreciate this. First time getting in touch, and you call it the podcrap?
Yeah. He didn't say podcrap.
Okay, I assume that was just your mistake.
That was me. Hi guys, podcast is great.
Thank you.
While listening to your podcasts, I've noticed you seem to have a fondness for wrestling, so I thought I would tease you both by mentioning there is a WWE Hall of Famer and a former WWE champion who make cameo appearances in 2 episodes separately of The X-Files. Kind regards, Neil Holmes.
Oh,
so that's interesting.
What a tease.
That's a good tease, and also it doesn't spoil anything, so we can sort of try and see if we can spot that as it happens. Now,
who do you think it's going to be?
Let's have guesses, because this is like, 95 to about 90... About 2000 and odd, wasn't it?
Here's the problem. I literally have watched the last, bits and bobs of the last 5 years. You're the expert in this regard.
When I used to watch this, I must have been like 8, though. I was not very old.
Yeah, but you know the history, don't you?
Yeah. So, my guess is this must have been when like the Attitude Era was kicking off. It says WWE, but I don't know. But it could have been some WCW guys who like eventually would have gone over there. So, I'm gonna take a guess. And he said it's a Hall of Fame. Oh, it's a Hall of Famer. Ric Flair.
Would the Big Show have been wrestling back then?
Yeah.
Is he a Hall of Famer?
I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, but he might be a champion.
The only reason why I mention that is because I am, like where like Andre the Giant. Ooh.
Yeah. No, I think he died in like 93.
Oh, see, that's why I don't know. But like how you get like I know in Jingle All the Way, the Big Show is in there because they just needed a really big dude. You know what I mean?
As well, he's in the Water Boy. He tells
exactly. So that my thinking behind that was, well, if the X-Files needed a really big dude, they'd know where to go to get him. Do you know what I mean? But maybe not. Then
I don't think it's going to be somebody like The Rock or Stone Cold because I feel like, and I don't think they're Hall of Famers or anything. I don't feel like they're big enough where you would be like, oh, they were in this, like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like so it's got to be somebody who's not super well known. I said Ric Flair jokingly, but what if it was just in a bar somewhere or something, getting tanked, or I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I mean, we'll look forward to it.
This is tough.
Yeah.
John Cena. No. He's invisible.
We don't. You know what? We will find out when we find out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it though.
Thank you for the email, Neil.
Thanks, Neil.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
Thanks for getting in touch because that's a new person emailing actually. So
yeah, we always like to hear from new people, and I'm glad you're enjoying the show. Does it mention where he's from?
It doesn't know, and not in email.
I wonder where we've got to check for next week. Who's winning the download race?
Oh yeah. Well, when was it? It should be in the next few weeks. We'll get the stats of this month.
Yeah.
So we should be able to see.
Yeah. So we'll see.
I think so far America's winning again.
Is it?
Yeah.
France, come on.
Vietnam.
No, come on, France.
I feel like bet on the wrong horse with Vietnam.
And you know what I'm really annoyed by? We still haven't heard from William. I feel like he literally has switched off.
Yes.
Maybe that's our fault.
William, please come back.
Please come back, William.
Please come back.
Anyway, I've got one more tweet I'll go through before we finish off. It was a tweet from Kathy who put that she loves listening to us two figure things out as we watch it.
Bumble our way through is what I would say.
It's definitely the case, but she finds it. She says it's a very entertaining podcast. So I kind of like that because sometimes I do wonder whether we annoy people with because we don't research into each episode. We want to be surprised by it, and that's the whole point of our podcast. That's the reason why we wanted to do this is we wanted to give that first time experience for people who haven't watched it and for people who have, and it's good to know that people are enjoying seeing our initial true reaction to things. That's
why, like, when we move the production notes to the end, because now we can talk about the episode and then we can have a look at the production notes afterwards.
Yeah, it becomes a little bit more interesting.
Because we learn a bit of how it was produced or this, that, and the other. And again, I try and cut out any, like, spoiler stuff in those production notes. Yeah. Because sometimes they do. And I've read some things and I'm like, no, why did you put that in?
On that note, I think that's time to end the episode for this week. I am going to take a few moments, as I do every couple of weeks. I know it's boring, but every time I mention it, we do get a sort of increase of viewers, so I do think it's important. Or say viewers, listeners, should I say.
Unless you're watching. To be fair, you can view it on YouTube now.
You can view it on YouTube now.
I mean, it's not very entertaining, but you can.
It is available. But yeah, obviously we want to get this out to as many people as possible. So if you could tweet at us, email, and just tell your friends, just get the word out there. And if you do know anyone that would enjoy X-Files or just enjoy a program about TV or, in general, sci-fi, give them our name and just ask them to download, give us a listen.
Ideally, we want to find the people who have not watched the X-Files before, like us, and try and get them on board.
Go through it with us. We've got a few people that are coming through with us, and they're using us as their sort of almost like a post episode show.
Yeah, that's the way I watch a lot of TV.
Yeah, and I do as well. I really enjoy it that way. So yeah, if you could, it does really mean a lot, as well as giving us a 5-star review on iTunes and just reviewing giving us the. Well, what would you say? A good review.
Yeah.
And that really does help to sort of get our name out there. But yeah, thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing you next week. I've been Checks.
And next week's episode.
Every time. Tell you what, forget everything I've just said. Go onto our iTunes and just say, this guy doesn't know how to close a show.
Well, to be fair, go on iTunes, give us a 5-star, but say Checks doesn't... As long as you get that 5 stars, I don't mind. You can say whatever you want underneath.
What is the next week's episode?
Next week's episode is a lovely little title called... I've got it wrong now, actually. My brain just... I've got to double check this. Fearful Symmetry. I was going to say unfearful symmetry, but that doesn't make sense.
Fearful Symmetry. Doesn't really give you any clues as to what it is.
No. I did read... I've watched the episode. Let's spoil that now.
Yeah.
The production notes for it. There is a big giveaway if you're a poetry fan. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to say.
I'll have to give that a good think.
So, but yeah, anyway.
So what language are we saying goodbye in this week, Luke?
Well, I've opted for simplified Chinese.
Ooh, fancy.
Well, I don't know, because this is probably going to be butchered relentlessly.
It's the effort that counts.
It is. So I'm going to say Seizhen.
Oh.
To everyone out there in simplified Chinese again.
Yeah. What was it? Seizhen?
Seizhen. If that is horribly wrong, please let me know.
Yeah.
And we won't do it again.
We've made an effort. So goodbye to listeners in China, or anywhere else in the world that is speaking Chinese, and goodbye to everybody else. See you next week.
If you aren't listening, that is. If there's anybody.
Hello? Is this just us?
It's just us and 3 people. That's all that listen. That's how we end the podcast.
I've been waiting outside of there 20 minutes to come and get my stuff, and it just kept going and going and going.